good.
Yeah, I know you're ready to go. You're like,
let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's make it sexy.
Yeah, of course. Everybody seems to be kind of gravitating more to teen co-op.
You gotta be kidding. 500? Who do you think we are, baggage handlers?
All right, you got nothing better to do? Let's co-op.
I like that. That's very good.
Are you excited?
I'm excited.
I'm excited. We're all fired up. Let's co-op. Let's talk some Stockton, huh?
Yeah. Downtown Stockton?
Only downtown.
Only. We'll edit that. Maybe we won't. You know, I say that in like at least 3 episodes that are on YouTube. We'll edit that and I just let it go.
Oh, you know, because it's just kind of funny.
Well, it's raw and uncut. Yeah. Like the last one, now I swear, like when I listened to the last one, I thought we were talking about the same stuff. Like we were talking about college again. Mm-hmm. And I had to go back and listen to it. I was like, do I want to upload this? Because I feel like Chris and I it was a totally different conversation. Mm-hmm. But it just felt so similar to the other one. And then I listened to it more. Oh, no, this is a completely different time. And it was really funny. So
that's funny.
No, so those are good ones. Do you want to do like intros, individual intros, or intros together? Like, hey, this is Chris the Greek. And I'm Ben Sanchez. And you're listening to, hey, let's co-op.
Yeah, let's take an answer to that.
Yep. You
Cut.
Okay. All right. So what are we going to talk about today?
You know, I think something that's interesting. Let's talk about downtown a little bit.
Yeah.
On the phone. The city voted just recently on a change in their general plan and focusing much more on infill development, and it's led to a little bit of a change, as a lot of people are in support of it, but it's not necessarily, you have to be able to do it the right way, and I don't know if the city is 100% ready to get to do that and support it the right way. And in the meantime, you have places like Lathrop and Tracy are adding homes, 5,000 to 8,000 homes, because a lot of people are moving here from the Bay Area, and Stockton's missing out on that right now.
Yeah. I didn't mean to break your train of thought.
No, it's good to have that. It's good to have that backup. So the city for a long time has had they paid big money consultants to come in and talk about what can we do for downtown revitalization? What is it really going to take to move downtown Stockton from where it's at right now into a vibrant and thriving downtown? Now you have the makings of that. You have some businesses that have opened up, some very classic, unique bars and restaurants that are here now. I talk about Cast Iron Trading Companies, really good. Channel Brewing just opened. Had their soft opening.
Natural Dew just celebrated their first year, because I was at the Metro Mixer, which we can talk about too.
So you have all this, and basically what the consultants all say is that downtown Stockton has more just open plot space in their downtown than almost any other downtown in California. So there's actually an ability to make it really easy to get in and build. But you don't have that. And what you're seeing is kind of let's bring this way back, is part of the reason that Stockton is having such an issue, and studies will show that when money was easy and developers were throwing a lot of money at it, it was much easier to just build into greenfield area. You don't have to worry about hooking up to old connectors or anything. You can just lay all your own stuff, connect into the city that way, and boom, bang, kapow, Bob's your uncle, you're done. But part of the problem with that is...
What if Bob's not my uncle? Like, I'm Hispanic.
Humberto? So... part of the problem with that is that it stretches city resources. Now your cops, instead of covering 10 square miles, are covering 50 square miles.
Right.
Same thing with your firefighters. Ambulances, obviously not a city service, but they're covering extra territory. If you have potholes, now you have extra miles of road to repave. There's a huge expense that came with that. So the city had this huge sprawling general plan that they put out that they were going to continue to build and all this green fill, and the state actually sued and told the city of Stockton, stop. You can't do that. That's way too much sprawl. So they told them, go back, come back to us with a new general plan that's not that.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
okay.
And nicer, it probably saying that in the nicest way possible. So now they've started to have some workshops on this and build about what they want. And you're hearing a very vocal group saying, we need gray fill, which is basically downtown. We need downtown, we need downtown, we need downtown. And you have one developer that's really doing a great job with that with 10 Space. Mm-hmm. That's what they're trying to do. They're renovating, they're finding those partnerships with it. But what hasn't happened in this is that you're not getting any of the big private developers, anybody who's coming in and just bankrolling it themselves. 10 Space is doing a great job finding collaborative partners. They're bringing 2, 3, 4 people, maybe some grants and some funding from a couple of different sources to renovate stuff. But you're not having anybody say this is still a viable option for me as a private business to make this pan out. Mm-hmm. So the city just held this workshop at the council meeting, or held a workshop, and then at the council meeting they voted on supporting this. Let's do this gray fill. Let's fill in downtown. There's a few issues with that. I'm a big supporter of that, and I think that it needs to happen. You look at our downtown; we do have thriving pockets.
Yeah.
How can we make those? How can we make those better?
Right.
We do have people that are enthusiastic about it, but how do you get people really excited about that? And how basically do you get private investment to come in and spend that money? A great example, and I talked about it on a previous podcast, is what's happened in downtown Sacramento. Mm-hmm. You had a bunch of people that were basically land squatting. They bought buildings out of foreclosure, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000. I mean, just dirt cheap, and just basically waited for somebody to do something in downtown. Mm-hmm. Then somebody did. They turned around, they cashed out, made huge sums of money. And so you have a lot of people that are sitting on property waiting for somebody to make that first step, and nobody's making that first move.
Right.
There's some hindrances to doing that, and I think that there's a balance, and you never really hear that nowadays. Is it's got to be 100% one way or 100% the other. That my side's got to win, the other side's got to lose. I always find that there might be a bit of compromise for it. The city is going to have to play a big part in this development. The city's fees, developer fees, building fees, insurance, connecting to sewer, everything is higher than every other place in San Joaquin County. Yeah. Significantly higher. If you're going to build a single-family home, it's going to cost you X. If you want to build it anywhere else in San Joaquin County, if you want to build it in Stockton, it's going to cost you 5 to 8X. And that's just not going to pan out.
Is that because of the bankruptcy issues that we've had?
Not the bankruptcy, just Stockton has a lot of fees. They have a lot of fees, and what those go to, I don't know. Right. And I think that you would really need to sit in and dig in and audit, what are these fees going for? Is it, and I look at it from the angle, is this fee supporting what you're doing, or is this fee more of a hindrance to what you're trying to do? Like, say, you've got a $50,000 fee to connect to a sewer line. Yeah. Is that supporting? Are you collecting enough $50,000 fees that you can support the staff that you've got in that office looking about that connector fee, the inspectors that are going out there? Or is that $50,000 fee a hindrance that somebody looks at that and says, well, it's going to cost me this much in material. It's going to cost me this much to buy the plot. It's going to cost me this much in materials to do it. It's going to cost me this much in labor to do it. Yeah. And then throw on an extra $50,000 on top of that so that we can have water. There's probably going to be a big hindrance if you're working on razor-thin margins. The other part of that is if you look at downtown, booming downtowns, San Francisco, which is forcing people out because their rent is exorbitant. Yeah. We don't have the jobs to support high-end rent. And you have a lot of people that want to look at some of the buildings that are here in downtown and say, we don't want it to be any different. You take the building as is and you fix it up, and that's how it's going to be.
Kind of like what they did with Cal Weber.
Mm-hmm. But honestly, some of these buildings are so far gone, it would be easier to tear the whole thing down and build it exactly the same as how it was. And then it's seismically okay. It's up to fire code. It meets all these regulations so that you could get there. You could do it exactly the same for a fraction of the cost. But you have a small group that's fighting against, and I won't say small group, but you have a vocal group that's fighting against that because they want to preserve the history. The history. Yeah. And I understand
Which makes sense. I mean, like, we were thinking when we were proposed with this project that the city wants to do as far as the startup, we were trying to think of a logo that would encompass something, and I really couldn't think of anything that really would represent Stockton. Like, you'd see the logo and you'd be like, that's Stockton. Other than we kind of did a logo and it's just, we just said, hey, it's a whip. Here's what we have. Here's our proposal. And it's, Stockton startup with the... as far as in the startup, the U has a little like arrow, signifying a startup, and then in Stockton we have the power button that you'd see on every device, the little circle with the dash. So we thought, this is great because it kind of incorporate, not every startup is tech. But for the most part, it could, I don't know what the percent or what the numbers are, but yes, it's a higher percentage of startups are tech. And then we thought maybe like the skyline of trying to get like, Janet Leigh Plaza and like some of the buildings. So that's kind of like what the logo looks like. It's just kind of like the skyline of Stockton. But there's nothing that really stands out to me that would really represent Stockton, like, the Medco building or, Hagen or something like that. I mean, yes, those are staples and that's a part of the history of Stockton, but there isn't really anything significant that really pops out in downtown.
Yeah, is it a downtown landmark, or you can think of Burns Tower? I think
Burns Tower.
The Hagen Museum is a great one. Are those necessarily downtown staples? I think that, in my personal opinion, it's okay to say, you know what, we'll save what we can save. We've got a great, with the, right across from the movie theater, the building, I'm totally going to blank on it now. The new Italian restaurant.
Yeah, I don't know what the building's called, but French 25 used to be there.
Okay. I'm an idiot for forgetting this, so I apologize to our listeners. You're all screaming at the podcast with the name of it. It'll come to me.
Yeah.
But you've got this great building. You renovated it. It looks great. But it's also time to take a look at is sitting there waiting. Nobody has the money. Nobody's doing it. The building's been vacant for 25 years.
Yeah.
Another building in downtown's been vacant for 25 years. After 26 years, after 27 years, is it going to get any better? It's not. And part of the issue, too, is that Stockton just doesn't have those kinds of jobs that can support. The reason that Manteca and Lathrop and Tracy are adding 10 to 15,000 homes in total in that area is you have so many people coming over from the Bay Area that said, you know what, for what I can sell my house or what I'm paying in rent over there, I could sell my house and buy 2 homes over here.
Right.
And, that's worth 4 hours of my time that I'm going to spend in the car going and commuting. Stockton hasn't hit that yet.
Yeah.
But we're still not finding those jobs that are paying, 80, 90, into the 6 figures that could support somebody saying, if a developer wants to come in and renovate it how you want it to be renovated, what you're going to have to charge for rent, those people aren't here yet. And so it makes it a little bit difficult, like, what comes first? Do you have the high-paying jobs, and then all of a sudden you have the development, or do you do the development and hope that that's going to attract the high-paying job? And so it's a stalemate between the two, and so you're not going to get the private investment because they've got people to answer to as well. Their business is making money, and if they can't make money off it, and if it's not going to pan out, it's going to be very difficult. In the meantime, you've got people like Ten Space that are working their tail off, and they're working collaboratively with different partners and where they can pull different funding from. But that's a slow-go process. You talk about grants. Some can take 18 months to 2 years. Some can take even longer, depending on what kind of grant you're doing.
Yeah.
And so in the meantime, it's kind of like giving a shot of water to a guy who's been stranded in the desert. It moves very slow. And Ten Space has done a great job of moving very quickly, but that stalemate is just not going. And in the meantime, you've got a big housing boom that's going on in other cities that Stockton's completely excluded from just because they sprawled too much too soon, and now they're left with the consequences of how do we fix this? And my simple answer is just get out of your own way. If I were to say pie in the sky, you could do whatever that you wanted, I would say, you know what? Offer the developers incentives. Just say, look, what are the points of these fees if nobody's building anyways? wipe them.
Yeah.
Just say, here's the building. We'll wipe the fees. You've just got to build something similar that's going to house X amount of people.
Yeah.
Or have this many.
There's got to be a compromise or some kind of incentive, and that's with anything, not just in the business world. That's incentives for all over the place. Like, like if you're into video games, you want incentives for things. If you're, getting something somewhere, you like incentives for a restaurant or, a little extra. And it makes you feel comfortable to come back to those establishments and to keep supporting them, whether it's great customer service or just like, hey, I'll knock a couple bucks off your bill or, or maybe I'll give you like a slice of pie for free, and then you start talking about it, start making waves. And then the next person says, hey, did you hear what happened? What's going down? I mean, it's the philosophy goes across all the spectrums. So, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Wiping the fees or even lowering them or eliminating, okay, we have 10 fees. Let's eliminate maybe 4 of these so you don't have to do as much. But, yeah, it makes sense.
It's just the way things get done now. You talk about Tesla was shopping their, gigawatt battery facility that eventually ended up in Reno.
Yeah.
It's just the way things are done now, and you have a very active group that's working trying to recruit Silicon Valley businesses into San Joaquin County, and they're very successful at it. They're doing a great job with it, but nobody's working in a vacuum. It used to be, we like you. I like the feeling of this. It's when your bottom line is your bottom line. You've got a profit that you have to make. It doesn't matter. So whether you're going to be in California and doing that a county over or Texas, and Texas is going to say, well, we're not going to charge you income tax and we'll give you the property tax free for however many years. It's just how things are done now. And so cities compete against cities, counties compete against counties, states are competing against each other.
Right.
And that's why you see Texas recruiting a lot of businesses out of California, is they just, when it comes to the bottom line, it's just easier to move them.
Yeah, why not? And I think the cost of living in Texas is a lot lower in California.
Yeah.
From what I understand, I've heard some people, talk. Haven't done the research myself, but the people that are doing the research and are saying, I actually might think about moving to Texas, or they've already made the move.
Guilty pleasure. My wife and I love watching that show, Fixer Upper, with Chip and Joanna Gaines. And they're based out of Waco, I guess it is.
Right.
Every time we watch that show, I just want to throw something at the TV because they're walking through and they're like, okay, we'd love to show you this 5-bedroom, 4-bath, 3,000 square foot house on 30 acres for $130,000. I'm like, what the hell am I doing?
Why am I here?
Why am I here?
Aren't we going to sink anyway? There's an earthquake, and then California is just little islands at the end of the day.
That's it. I know. Well, with all the changing subjects again, with all the flooding that had gone on with the weather and the rain.
Fuck attack.
That's embarrassing. With all the rains that had happened, I took a look at the county's flood plan and how you're supposed to drive and get the heck out of here. But there's a lot of spots that are not over 5 feet above sea level.
Yeah.
So we're pretty low.
Well, and I remember, when I was I'm still in the entrepreneurship class, but going to class and it was raining like all the time, down here, working with startups and businesses and attending class. And someone's like, oh, yeah, the rain's really coming down. And I just tell people, I was like, careful what you wish for, because when it rains, it pours. And boom, it all came down. And then look, because for that whole time, everyone was, you talk to people in the city and they're just like, we really need the rain. We could really, use it right now. And then boom, it's like somebody upstairs was just like, we're dropping buckets, baby. I mean,
here you go.
Yeah, it made it rain all right. So I mean, now we've got other problems, like with the flooding and things like that,
and a huge exposure on California's crumbling infrastructure, as politicians love to say.
Oh, okay. Is that the new new terminology, new slang?
That was all Bernie's big thing, crazy Bernie. That was crazy Bernie's big thing in the campaign. We need to fix our crumbling infrastructure. Just talk about that all the time. Because, our infrastructure a lot of this was out of New Deal development. There was our dams, highways, roads, stuff that happened out of World War II to get us out of the Depression. And the problem with these big public works projects is what they did is, here's the money to build it, and that's it. there's no money to maintain it,
whoops.
or expand it, or replace it.
I forgot about sustainability.
It's crazy because nobody liked to think into the future. People didn't live that long. No, I don't know, but it's just people didn't look that far into the future, and now you're looking at. Now the bill has come, and you've got our bridges are terrible, our dams are terrible.
Yeah.
And you've got the most industrialized, advanced country in the world, and we're sitting here talking about, well, do we raise our gas taxes because California, which is the 5th or 6th largest economy in the world on its own, can't figure out how to pay for this stuff? Like it's crazy.
It is. That sounds that's actually too much for me. So we're gonna switch. We're gonna switch gears.
Sorry. See, it started with a Bernie joke.
It did. It had crumbling infrastructure. That's crazy AF, as the hipster kids like to say nowadays.
So I guess my explanation crumbled upon.
Yeah. Well, you didn't do the. One of my startup buddies showed me this video. Having a picture. And then having text at the top and text at the bottom. And so it was kind of like the old little college humor kind of, workspace with a startup with a group, and everyone has their own different personality types. And one guy's like, we got to bring in notes and bullet points and sketches, and this is what I want to the meeting. And the other guy is really like very detailed, and he explains it so in length that everybody gets confused after, his second or third paragraph. Yeah. And then you've got the really timid and shy girl in the corner that really wants to speak up but doesn't. And then you've got the other guy that's on all kinds of stuff. He's like hitting the bong and smoking bowls, and he's surrounded by like empty like bags of chips and
flaming hot Cheetos everywhere.
And he's drinking like Jack, straight out of the bottle. And he says, all people want to do is this. You give them a funny picture in the middle, you put text above it, you put text below it. And he showed like the picture of a duck, and it says crazy duck. And that was it. And people go wild. It doesn't matter. And he just used examples like that as far as like advertising stuff. Because, we'll jump into this part, because I was going to tell you before we, had our little, 30-minute meeting, which we don't. We just have like a 5-minute meeting about what we're going to talk about on this. And we fly by the seat of our pants here.
Because we like to party.
Because, or no pants.
Or no.
It depends on how the studio's running.
Yeah.
Day by day.
Hot summer day.
With no rain. And so I look at this society and how the shift in everything has gone with just looking at the English language. Of course, like I remember something in Bates' class about him writing stuff on the board, and he was writing acronyms which we already know, the LOLs and BRBs and things like that, things that I was familiar with. If you're in the MMO culture and text was all you had, people were starting to shorten things, instead of like typing out things and being grammatically correct and punctuation, that goes out the window. Like when you're in the game world, it's completely out. And so I remember him talking about like, there are no gatekeepers with our language anymore. It's now because the memes are, kind of king in this social media culture. Now we're seeing, a change in the language again. Like I'll talk to my niece or I'll look at her Instagram or things like that, and I'm like, what's capital AF? What is that? And then I ask, and I'm like, oh, that's what that means. Oh, yeah. We're not going to say that, but yeah, but you're seeing again, like the younger generation making that shift. Like, we're still seeing LOLs and emojis are popular and things like that, but now we're seeing like other acronym things getting shrunken down, or it's.
Do you find it interesting? After thousands of years of language development, we're actually going back to hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, essentially that's what it is, right?
With emojis, that's essentially exactly what
you probably don't even have a conversation with somebody. Like, you go on a date with somebody, and they're a good example was one that I remember meeting this girl just for coffee, and not a word. Like, it was just like, hey, and then you sit down, and it's like you want to talk, and she's just like, she'll text you. I was like, oh, this is how this works now? Like, it's...
What in the...
So... So my conversation really was all through text, and to the point where I just walked up and got my coffee, and I was like, "Peace, I gotta go." It's like you're sitting right in front of that person, but you're stuck on your phone the whole time, right?
People are having a hard time interacting with each other, and I think your phones give you a little bit of that dopamine where it's just like, I want to check this constantly. I want to check this.
You hear the ding, or you get the like, or whatever. What?
Yeah,
you're like just pitching your skin, and you're getting crazy.
It's honestly, I'm strongly considering going back to a dumb phone because I like it. I know I've plugged Nokia on a previous podcast, but I think about it and just it wastes time. You hear about some people that do it. I honestly, I probably would never do it. But I thought about it seriously.
and I feel like also, if you're taking the time to meet with these people, however your relationship is with them, whether it's just for a first time or an old friend catching up, or a family member, whatever it is. Like when I go out to dinner with my mom, that's a no phone zone. Like straight up, like turn off your phone, put it on silent, put it in your pocket, don't even bother. Putting it on the table, because like you're taking away that time. That they took the time out of the day to sit down with you and have dinner, have coffee, or whatever it is, and so like you want the attention. The attention has to be there, and if you're distracted, like then you don't want to piss off Mama Bear really at all. Whoa, somebody was trying to get in. This is Ghostbusters.
We have a third person.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm sure like you've seen that too. Like I went out to dinner with some friends at Kokoros over on the Miracle Mile, and I looked over, and there's a table with 4 people. Like I want to say it was 3 guys and 1 girl. Everyone's on their phone.
Isn't that amazing though? You look over and there's just nobody's having a conversation with each other. Like, what are you doing? Scrolling through your Twitter feed, or you Facebooking each other? Like that interaction, that personal interaction, I think people are having a harder and harder time with. And I'll give this one grotesque story, and I'm going to out some of my Tiger Team members from my MC days. But a lot of them are single, and talk about all the dating apps that are out there now. Yeah, and they were showing me some of the comments that come through of I am just appalled at how people just talk to each other nowadays.
Is it pretty like straightforward and blatant? Like they're just like if they don't like you, or if you're ugly, they're just gonna boom.
Or no, hey, I'm in town for this evening. Why don't we get together?
And, I see.
Yeah, that type of stuff. Yeah. I'm like, my God Almighty.
Yeah.
What in the world is going on? That I could never ever think to just send a blatant stranger a comment like that and make a comment like that. And I think that just. There's such a volume that you can get. You can swipe whichever direction it is. You can swipe, and you can, it's fishing with dynamite almost. Like, hey, we'll just, we'll toss a grenade and see what's going to pop.
See what pops out.
Yeah, see what this turns up. And it's amazing. Yeah. It's appalling that's how it is. But I think a lot of that is the offshoot of you going to dinner and you're not.
Right, exactly. Hi.
What's going on?
Hey, how's it going, buddy? Sit down.
You going to come join in on our co-op?
Yeah.
Yes.
Come on down.
Do.
Yeah,
it'll be good. We were just talking about fun with emojis.
Fun with emojis and
how people use dating apps
and
nowadays.
Social media. That we're basically going back to hieroglyphics. Like if you talking to a girl or a guy, they're just going to respond to you in emojis. It's like, oh, okay. So let me write take my little sketchbook, and now I'll just sketch it out and take a picture of what little people like. Hey, hands crossed, and
I just saw that on Facebook yesterday. Pretty much the picture how it's showing, just like you said, the happy smiley faces and everything going back to Egyptian. Sort of.
That's it.
Yeah.
Back to just using symbols as language.
And so we were just talking about like there's no conversation now, like whether it's just dating or just other things in general. Like you'll be out at a restaurant and you'll be looking at like I was telling him, I was at a restaurant looking at another group of people and everyone was on their phone. No one was having a conversation. So were they having a conversation in cyberspace? In like a Slack chat or something, I don't know. I don't know what was going on. Maybe they were all on their own individual Twitters, and then it was like the only interaction that the person gets is the waiter or the waitress. It's like, yeah, I'll have a Coke and 1 sushi roll, and that's it. And then you pay them, and then that's good.
And it's just become the new normal. Like that's okay. It's okay for you to do that. And I don't think that there's time and a place. I mean, it's. With your phones now doing so much more. I know it's really cool and really exciting. My wife and I have this dilemma all the time. We'll get there and we'll start getting sucked into the vortex. It's like, okay, what's going on Twitter? What's going on Facebook? And the answer is nothing.
I forget. Was it you I was having a conversation with that there's actually a device that you can get that'll like kill all electronic devices within a certain range like that?
No,
Fire?
we had a conversation with a couple of people we met in Sacramento, and she was saying that they have created something like that in a one of those pepper,
the pepper shakers,
the pepper
yes.
shaker thing, and in the UK. So it's a small EMP device. So if mom's cooking dinner and she sees her whole family, on the boob tube or on their phones, she's cooking dinner. She wants to use the pepper. Boom! It's a small EMP blast that knocks everything out in the home.
So essentially, someone can create this as like a little grenade. Just throw it into a coffee shop. Just
yeah. I mean, and we had that conversation up there at Denny's, of all places.
That's where it was. It was Denny's.
Yeah, it was a good old Denny's conversation. So, well, that happened when the internet went down at Huddle. This is Huddle 1.0, not 2.0. Yeah, there's two different versions now, but yeah. So 1.0 in Huddle, the internet went down, and I saw all these people I've never seen before, like out in the open space. Like, hey, how's it going? You new here? Yeah. I mean, well, I've been over here working with this group, working with that group, but now all of a sudden people are talking because they can't access their email or their internet. Everything's down, so it's like now you're forced to do that.
For our desk, how we were all sitting. There were three of us in the room. All of a sudden, our chairs start turning around. We're facing each other. It's like, wow. Mm-hmm. When did you lose some weight?
It's like, I didn't know you had hair. No. It's that interaction. It's like waking up from hibernation. Mm-hmm.
Should we do it at the same time?
Yeah, let's try that.
All right.
Hi, I'm Chris K.
And I'm Ben Sanchez.
And together
and the band.
and together, let's go.
And we're part of Team Co-op.
Hey, I'm Chris K.
And I'm Ben Sanchez.
And together, let's co-op.